Let me ask you a question. Did you hear about the economic blackout that was supposed to happen on February 28th? Well, me neither. And here's the thing, most people haven't heard of it, but the real problem with any of these grassroots efforts of stop spending, stop going to any of these large retailers because they're evil, they're always going to fail. Now, if you don't know what the economic blackout is, it's essentially a grassroots effort by, I believe it's the People's Union. I'll talk about them later to stop spending at large retailers, right? We're talking about the Walmarts, the Amazons, et cetera, right? Target. But here's the problem that I have with this. America is a consumeristic society, and there's so many better ways to go about this rather than stop shopping for one day, right? Instead of stop shopping for one day, how about you, I don't know, set up a budget to stop over consuming? Maybe, is that crazy for me? Maybe set up a budget. Maybe setting up a budget could probably be the best thing instead of going out and spending money on things that you honestly don't need, right? Let's be honest. Most people aren't shopping for groceries and food for their house. Most people are shopping for things that they don't need. And I know this because credit card debt will always continuously rise. It's always going to hit a new all-time high, meaning interest is going to the banks, meaning people are either spending money that they don't have or they're buying things that they actually truly don't need, right? There's only two ways about this: stop spending money or make more money. And the best thing that most people could do is stop spending money rather than making more money. We can talk about those methods in a different video. The only thing I'm saying is that instead of people trying to target companies by stop spending in total, because that is going to hurt them, right? Everyone understands their pockets, but you still need to shop at a Walmart, right? Most people don't have the luxury to afford to stop shopping for that one day. What if that was the one day that they're off on the week? What if that one day was the only day that they were off that month? What if that one day was a potential deal that could have saved them, groceries for the next month, right? People have to think about that. And I think that when people talk about an economic blackout, that's unfortunately a position of privilege. But plenty of news outlets covered this. Let's get into it.
Well, let's see how this played out today. Activists nationwide encouraging people not to spend their money at large corporations on what's being called Economic Blackout Day.
Your reporter Kayla Moeller is live at Target in Land Park, checking out whether people in our
you could easily see that if you go to a Target or Walmart or any large chain outlet, that if people even heard about this, and I'm going to guess that's no.
region are participating.
Well, guys, this is the first year for the movement called the Economic Blackout. But take a look at this Target parking lot. It's pretty crowded, right? There's been a steady amount of customers all day. So since it is the first year, it's been a toss-up as to who is aware of it and who isn't.
Never heard of it.
So what do you think of the concept?
I love supporting local business. We try to support local business as much as possible.
The No Spend Day is spearheaded.
Yeah, so there's obviously going to be a difference between local small mom and pop and large chain retailer. But I think trying to get the word out for people to simply stop shopping for one day out of the year, again, maybe set up a budget, could hurt the large chains matter, right? Think about this. Americans simply stop overspending. That would shock headlines.
Headed by a grassroots organization called People's Union USA. They're pushing back against big corporations and high prices, encouraging people to only buy what's strictly necessary and to only shop from small businesses.
The call isn't to boycott a single brand or a single retail outlet, but it's rather calling for consumers to shut down their spending altogether.
Increasingly, our economy is moving to really extreme dominance by large corporations.
And they're driving out small business.
The blackout comes as popular local store Zanzibar Fair Trade is closing its doors after 26 years.
Sales. It all comes down to sales. We have not had.
All right, so just look at what's in this store. Right behind him are some artwork, and they can't sell. Is that supply and demand, or is that capitalism at its finest? People don't want to shop. If this happened to be the cheapest place you can get a marble crane, what is that in the background? Let me know in the comments. But if that's the cheapest place that you can get that and they're able to make a profit, then it would work. But the problem is that mom and pop retailers are unfortunately, they can't compete with a large scale chain. But remember, as the consumer, I can only think about my pocket. We have to think individually and what's best. But is that going to a Walmart? Is that going to what if you have the only Dollar General in the area, right? We understand that there are food islands, Is that shutting down mom and pops? Well, I don't know, because I need to be able to afford food, right? Like, it's cool that you're a mom and pop retailer, but we understand that setting up a mom and pop, restaurant, the smallest, I think, profit margins are in the restaurant business. But can you blame the consumer for not wanting to spend more?
The patronage and the sales that we need to make this viable.
Co-owner Josh Varner says things have been different post-pandemic.
Yeah, so like, look at the products that surround them. Is that the kind of products that people are buying on a daily basis? I don't know. I don't think I would ever go into a store like this, because it's just extra things that you think you would find at a garage sale. There's no shade for the owner, right? Because people do want to shop there. It looks like it's in Sacramento. That's the kind of, I guess, things that they sell. But one of those things that you have to understand is that this is a capitalistic supply and demand economy, right? If this store happened to have the only product in 100 miles of the only thing that people needed, they would get, they would get that demand.
Not only are they competing with large corporate retailers, but now online shopping too.
It has completely and irrevocably altered how people spend money. They stay at home, they don't go out, they don't engage others, they do all their shopping online, and that's it.
The store was open for a private event.
And now, would that be the problem of this chain? It would be this owner's responsibility now to go online. You meet the customers and the consumers where they're at.
Friday for longtime customers.
They can't replace what a thriving small business does. And this is like the best example of that.
Debbie has made it a tradition to shop at the store whenever her sister is in town to visit. She says she doesn't get the same feel at larger retail stores. The owners say if the movement took hold sooner, maybe they'd be staying open.
Things absolutely would have been different if those sales trends and that change in the cultural lexicon of shopping hadn't occurred. It would be a very different story for us.
Zanzibar is going to be open to the public tomorrow for a half-off sale to say their final goodbyes. And again, people from all over the United States.
So is that the problem of consumers, or is that the problem of that retail, that store? But I mean, there's so many different opinions that's going to be about this economic blackout, right? Is this to save consumers money? Is this to help the mom and pop shop? Because I would say that to help the mom and pop shop would have to save the consumers. Right, you have to think about the people that are hurting the most, and that's the people's pockets. In mass, that's not a mom and pop shop. In mass, that's the people hurting that are making a medium income wage of $50,000 a year.
Organizers want consumers to avoid all unnecessary spending, especially at major retailers. The boycott is calling attention to the higher cost of everything from food to housing. Money Watch correspondent Kelly O'Grady is here with us. Kelly, good morning.
Morning.
Good to see you. All right, so let's begin with this. Who is this group, the People's Union USA, and what's the goal here?
So this all started on social media, and it's done by the People's Union USA, and the goal is don't shop. And if you have to shop, don't shop at major retailers like Walmart and Amazon. Now, we did reach out to those companies, and they're not commenting on this, but this is really tapping into a lot of consumer frustration that we are seeing. Just sort of, you're seeing corporate profits increase, but for people at home, they're struggling. And I will note that there is a faction that's also piggybacking on top of this, that's targeting companies that are rolling back their DEI efforts. It's going to be hard to quantify something that's just 24 hours, but we have seen targeted boycotts like with Bud Light work.
So yeah, that's a good point. Targeted boycott. The civil rights boycotts in the 1960s were sustained, and they eventually worked. But this is just one day. These are billion-dollar corporations. Will it have an impact?
The folks that I'm talking to often say that it's more optics than everything, but I do think that it has tapped into a very timely consumer frustration. You and I talked about the consumer confidence numbers the other day. People think inflation is going to be 6%. There's new CBS polling that's
Yeah, so income is not keeping up with inflation. Worried about paying for food and groceries. Remember, so there's so many different conversations that are being had with this movement, right? People are being told to avoid spending and going to a mom and pop shop versus people are hurting. These conversations are both happening at once, and they're getting mixed into this. And I didn't see on the People's Union's site talk about how the actual average consumer is hurting in this economy, and it's more trying to attack the large retailers.
77% of people think their income isn't meeting where inflation is growing. 53% of people say that they can't afford groceries. I just threw a lot of numbers at you, but the takeaway is people don't feel like they're winning, and this boycott does seem to have struck a nerve.
The pain is real. Kelly, thank you very much. Appreciate it.
So the thing with this all, right? Remember, the boycotts work. They talked about the Bud Light boycott, but remember how the Bud Light boycott happened. It happened because Bud Light essentially attacked its direct customer, right? They had a member on their cans The customers didn't like that. So the customers, the 100% of the customers, or let's just say a large number, 40% of the customers stopped buying the product. You're attacking your direct audience. That was stupid for Bud Light to do. But that's different from this boycott, which is simply grassroots efforts on social media of stop spending money on this one day. That's not going to work. The best thing to work for your pockets, for this, right, we talked money here, is to stop overspending, period. Right? What if Walmart no longer had the over luxury of just selling anything, right? Like, people have to now start thinking with their wallets, and that's going to be a true economic blackout, right? Because you are going to have more competitive retailers actually driving down prices to get and balance supply and demand. But it is what it is.